So, you're running a small business, and let's be honest, compliance can feel like a total headache, right? But what if all that paperwork and regulation could actually be your secret weapon? In this explainer, we're going to break down how you can turn compliance from a chore into a genuine strategic advantage.
I know, that's a pretty intense question to ask. But for so many small and medium sized businesses, the answer is a scary yes. A single compliance misstep can have massive consequences. And that's why getting a handle on this landscape is absolutely crucial for your survival and your growth.
Okay, so what are we even talking about when we say business compliance? Well, think of it as the official rule book for the game of business. And look, following these rules isn't just about trying not to get fined. It's about building a rock-solid foundation by sticking to all the legal, financial, and governance requirements so your company can really, truly thrive.
To make this whole thing less intimidating, we're going to look at it through three foundational pillars. You can think of them like the legs of a stool. If one of them is weak, the whole business gets wobbly. But if you get them right, you're going to build a business that can really withstand anything. All right, first up, let's talk about the challenge itself. Small and medium businesses. They're the backbone of the economy, right? They're agile, they're innovative, but with limited cash and people, trying to figure out this tangled web of rules, wow, it can be a massive hurdle. So why should you even care about all this? What's the big deal? It's definitely not just about ticking boxes. Strong compliance gives you legal protection. It keeps your finances stable. It builds trust with everybody, from your customers all the way to your investors. It's about business continuity. All right, pillar number one, managing debt. How your business handles borrowing, that's a massive piece of this compliance puzzle. Does this sound familiar to you? A lot of small businesses lean on things like loans from shareholders, or maybe just those informal handshake deals to keep the cash flowing. And yeah, it's flexible, but this is exactly where those compliance risks love to hide, right in plain sight. So, the big secret here? You've got to formalize everything. That means getting proper paperwork for every single loan and actually sticking to the terms. But the most important thing, and I mean the most important, is you have to maintain solvency. This is huge. It means avoiding what's called insolvent trading, which, in plain English, just means you can't take on new debt if you know you can't even pay the bills you already have. And this is really where the rubber meets the road, because as a director, it's your actual legal duty to make sure the company can pay its debts. If it can't, well, the consequences can get personal really fast, and that's a risk no business owner ever wants to take.
Okay, let's move on. Pillar 2 is all about internal governance. This is basically how your business runs on the inside. The place where being a little too informal can create some serious hidden risks.
I mean, really think about your own company. Is there one person, maybe it's you, who makes pretty much all the big calls? Now, that can be super efficient for sure, but it can also create some major governance blind spots if you're not careful.
So you've got three main duties to think about here. First, as the director, you have what are called fiduciary duties. Okay, that sounds fancy, but just think of yourself as the company's guardian. You have to act in its best interest, no matter what. Second, you got to document the big decisions. And third, keep all those official records and registers up to date. It sounds like a pain, but it's crucial.
So, how do you actually get a handle on this? Well, it's a pretty straightforward three-step process. Step 1, get really clear on roles and responsibilities. Who does what? Step 2, create some basic internal policies. Nothing crazy, just the fundamentals. And finally, step 3, make it a habit to regularly review how you're doing things. This isn't a one-and-done deal. It creates accountability, and it really protects the business in the long run.
All right, on to our final pillar, accounts and auditors. Having your numbers straight, it's the absolute bedrock of trust and compliance.
Yeah, good accounting is so much more than just getting ready for tax season. It makes sure you're compliant, obviously. It gives you the real data you need to make smart, strategic decisions. It builds confidence with investors, and it makes you look way more credible to lenders. See? It literally touches every single part of your business. So here are the things you just can't mess around with. You have to prepare your financial statements to the approved standards. You've got to submit them on time, no excuses. You need to keep all your accounting records, all of them. And you have to follow the rules for hiring and, well, firing your auditors. This stuff is the absolute foundation of being financially transparent.
Okay, so we've walked through all three pillars: debt, governance, and accounts. At the end of the day, it all boils down to a choice. We've seen what you need to do. Now let's get real about the stakes. It's a clear choice between risk and reward. And this slide right here, it lays it all out perfectly. Look, on one path, ignoring compliance leads to fines, maybe even director disqualification, a damaged reputation, the whole nightmare scenario. But on the other path, a proactive approach to compliance, that builds financial stability, it creates stakeholder confidence, it boosts your credibility, and that is how you get sustainable growth.
And this right here, this is probably the single most important thing I want you to take away from this. We have got to stop looking at compliance as just a boring chore or another cost. When you really get it right, compliance becomes this incredibly powerful strategic tool. It protects your business, and it sets you up for success long term.
So, I'm going to leave you with one final question to think about. When you look at your own business, your debt, your governance, your accounting, are you building a fortress that can withstand anything? Or are you maybe, just maybe, building a house of cards? The choice and the opportunity is all yours.